It's Monday night, and we're sharpening our takes. You're tuned into The Cut, hosted by Thomas Roth.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the newest edition of The Cut. I'm Thomas Roth, and I'm here to give you the real takes that we're all craving. From politics, current events, to conspiracy theories, entertainment, and pop culture, our goal is simple: to keep you informed and entertained while building a mutual trust through an honest and no-nonsense conversation. So tonight, we're going to go over what's transpired in our country the last week, with a congratulations in order for the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. Anthony, cue up the applause. Well, hey, there was some money in there. There was some money in there too, which hopefully money comes back into our pockets. That's cool. So we are going to talk about his victory, but we're also going to talk about the division that's come from that. Maybe you felt it with politics dividing friendships, which is appropriate because the title for our video tonight is Blocked at the Ballot. When do friendships and politics intermingle, and why does that happen? But before we get into that, I want to do a quick sponsor shout out. So it's going to be a quick shout out to our sponsor, Cracked. So Cracked is your one-stop shop for all things electronics repair. I bet you're watching this on a cracked screen now or your battery is about to die. Mine is. Don't worry though. Take it to Cracked where they can get your screen uncracked and give your device some more life. Give Cracked a call at 440-536-4044 or go to crackedrepair.com to get a quote. Cracked. Get your fix. All right, so before we get too deep into this video, I want you guys to like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video so we can continue to get you great content every week. I do apologize for us not being in last week. Life happens, and unfortunately, just some stuff we had to take care of, but we're back on the docket now. So let's talk about Trump winning, and I have a video that we are going to watch real quick. Hopefully it doesn't get us busted for copyright infringement or nothing like that. So Anthony's going to pull that up right here. Before we get into the video, if you guys are watching, go ahead, let me know what you think about Donald Trump winning the presidency. Are you excited about it? Or is it bumming you out? Let me know. And Anthony's got that pulled up. So Anthony, let's take a look at Donald Trump being projected the winner of the presidency.
CNN projects that Donald Trump has been elected president, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris and making a political comeback unlike any in modern American politics. Now, we can make this projection now because CNN projects that Donald Trump has won Wisconsin. You can see right there, currently ahead by 30,000 votes with 99% of the vote in. Mr. Trump is only the second former president in U.S. history to be reelected to the White House. He will return to office after 2 impeachments in his first term, followed by unprecedented criminal indictments and felony convictions. Mr. Trump scoring a landmark victory as he now heads back to power, leading a politically divided nation. Again, CNN projects that Donald J. Trump is elected the 47th president of the United States. It is now official.
All right. So we see the video right there. Donald Trump is victorious in becoming the 47th president of the United States of America. His victory in this election was driven by several key strategies and factors, because a lot of people are wondering, how did he get elected in over Miss Kamala Harris? So Trump gained strong support from economically struggling, deindustrialized regions, particularly in the Midwest. So Midwest meaning Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Indiana, Illinois. And he simultaneously made inroads in that way with traditionally Democratic minority groups. So this, alongside a massive campaign effort from his allies, helped secure his win, and a significant part of his campaign focused on energizing the male voter base, specifically through influencers and social media personalities. So guys like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, who endorsed him and helped drive his message to younger audiences. And I think that that was a really spectacular thing that he did. A lot of us, if you're in my age range of like 34, 35 years old, maybe a little bit older, let's go out to like 40. We were college aged when Barack Obama came into office. And one thing that I feel that Barack Obama did better than any president was market to the younger male audiences, and just younger audiences in general, especially college people. So what Obama did is he talked very eloquently. He made promises and kind of catered his campaign towards our demographic, right? But what Trump was able to do was by getting a guy like Elon Musk to get behind him, who runs X, which is probably the most, if not one of the most popular social media platforms, and who donated heavily to his campaign. You also had Joe Rogan endorse him by having him on the Joe Rogan Experience, which is probably, for my money, the most popular podcast in the world. And a lot of young males and young females watch the Joe Rogan show, not to get their politics intake so much, but more to get an idea of who someone is, because Joe Rogan, I feel, does a very good job about talking to the people he's interviewing, and he doesn't really give softball questions, right? Joe Rogan is more of a conversational type person. He's not giving you a softball question. It's not really scripted, and it's very authentic. And that's what I think a lot of people wanted to see from Donald Trump. They wanted to see an authenticity to him, right? Because as they said in that video, there were many things that were working against President Trump going into this election, especially the 2 impeachments while he was first in office, and then the felony indictments while he wasn't in office and was just a civilian. So by having that interview and that authenticity, what we're able to do is we're able to see he's not talking to a politically focused group with like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, that kind of thing, or even like a Tucker Carlson type podcast where Tucker Carlson is more of a political affiliated person, not like Joe Rogan, who has guys like Joey Diaz, Theo Vaughn, he has MMA fighters on his podcast. It's a very authentic type thing, right? So what he's able to do is give these harder questions that people want to, it comes more from an everyman type thing. And Donald Trump, this isn't a new precedent that Trump has set. In his first presidency, Donald Trump actually was interviewed by the owner of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, and they had a great interview. And what I always have respected about President Trump is that he's not going to shy away from talking to whomever. I mean, if you even go back and watch maybe last month, maybe the month before, he actually got interviewed by Theo Vaughn, who's another comedian who does a podcast called This Past Weekend, which is one of my favorite podcasts. And Theo is, if you've never seen Theo Vaughn, he's a goofy dude. He talks about weird shit, and he was really able to take his weirdness and put his own flair on interviewing someone like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump wasn't put off by it. Donald Trump was into it. He was having fun. And I think that might not have won him the election, talking to, Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, but I mean, it definitely helped, right? Because who didn't take an interview with Joe Rogan when it was purported that they were offered one? That was Kamala Harris. I'm not saying that Ms. Harris would have won the presidency if she would have taken an interview, but I think that it would have, it definitely would have boded well for her to do something like that, because if she's doing that, it gives more of an authenticity to her. We would have to hear a better answer from her other than "I was born and raised middle class," like she gave in almost every interview that she did. And that was just kind of the central point of her thesis when she would talk to people is, well, I was born and raised middle class. I don't think Joe Rogan was going to take that really as a as an answer to everything, right? I think that he was going to more force a more thought out and substantial answer from her, and I think that that's what we need. And I'm almost wondering now. We have these major news networks that have been doing it forever. Again, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, CBS, all these big networks, and they're getting these political figures to come on and be interviewed and talk, but they're not getting the views of people that are 18 to 40. They're more in your older demographic, right? And I feel that now, as we go into this new age of America, because make no mistake, this is a new age of America, a social media age, a information in your pocket at all times age like we've never seen before. I think that the onus is on these people to take interviews with guys like Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Tucker Carlson, Barstool Sports, these type of things that young men and women gravitate towards to kind of absorb this information. And I think it makes it in a more approachable manner, because these news stations are so biased, and they have one political leaning, and it's very obvious on these different channels, right? But a place like Barstool Sports or Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, they're not really looking to lean one side politically. They're just looking to talk and have an authentic conversation. And I think that that's the best part about those people, because they're not owned by one person's agenda. They have their own agenda. And I think that that's the most important thing in these interviews anymore, is to not spread a rhetoric that's just one-sided in one way. You need to be able to speak to all different types of people, and I think that these podcasts do that. So I got off topic a little bit, but going back to Donald Trump and getting in. So what was his strategy this time coming into the election? So his strategy included a heavy push in the battleground states. So battleground states like Michigan, Arizona, and Wisconsin. His campaign relied on both grassroots effort and digital outreach. So Elon Musk's endorsement, along with Musk's financial backing and the support from other high-profile figures, gave Donald Trump a significant advantage in the closing days of this campaign. And Trump's ability to mobilize voters in areas hit hardest by economic changes played a crucial role in flipping key swing states, which, make no mistake about it, was the major contributing factor to his ultimate success in this election. And I keep seeing on Facebook, there's this like little meme going around, right? And this meme says, where did all the voters go? Why are there, I think the number was like 20 million. Where did all they go? Why was there 20 million less voters? And where did they go? I don't think that it's insidious as people are making it out to be. So the voter turnout in the 2024 election, it was lower for several reasons, and one factor was voter fatigue and make no mistake about it, a disillusionment with the election, as many saw the race as a foregone conclusion. So, I heard a lot of people say this: why would I vote? A, because my vote doesn't matter in the long run, and B, what if these are the only two that can realistically win? Why would I vote? And I understand that and I respect that, but at the same time, if you're going to say that and spread that rhetoric and spew that grossly wrong narrative, then I don't want to hear in a year you complain or talk good about what's going on because you didn't contribute to this election. Every vote counts. I don't like that. I I don't like that line that it doesn't matter because my vote doesn't matter anyway. Well, your vote absolutely matters. It's your right as an American citizen, and frankly, it's your duty as an American citizen to go out and vote, because if you don't go out and vote, you can't make your voice heard. And it doesn't matter how small you think your voice is, you still have a voice. And it's a shame because there's many countries where they aren't even allowed. You want to talk about not having a voice? A lot of people in a lot of countries don't have a voice because it doesn't matter what they think. Their next person is just a foregone conclusion and actually does go into office, and there is no election, and someone's just appointed, and they can continue going down like almost like a dynastic type rule. And it's just, if you truly feel that you don't have a voice, then I challenge you to go to a local election, go to a local government type meeting, and see what kind of voice you can actually have if you go in there and you actually listen and talk in the open forum. While that's not the same as voting, every single person has a part to play in this country, no matter how large or how small it is. And if you can contribute by just putting your vote out there, it's going to let people know that you do care about the future of this country. And there's some restrictive voting laws in certain states like Texas, which did lead to confusion and discouraged participation, particularly among younger voters and minorities. So in some areas, the complexity of voter ID laws and the limited access to mail-in ballots played a role in the smaller voter turnout. And there were regions with heavy competition, so the turnout was going to be relatively high. But no matter what, fewer people did vote compared to the previous 4 years. That's not in question. You know, it is kind of concerning, but I don't think it's as insidious as people were saying. And I really would like someone to correct me and say, hey, they just hadn't counted all the mail-in votes yet or something like that, but I don't really think that that's the case. So going into a second term, Trump has outlined several key policy differences and goals that are going to shape his presidency. So I'd like to take a look at that now.
California is only 75% reported, by the way.
And it's really not going to make a difference.
It's not going to make a difference in the overall election. So real quick to just jump in here. So we've got...
I love it when you jump in.
Real fast. So we have... Let me switch this here. Okay, so if we're looking at California alone, we've got 7 million and 4 million votes apiece, right? Respectively. Yes. So that's, what's that, 11? So let's count that 5 and 8 if you count the third-party candidates, right? So 85, so 13 million. What's 75% of 13 million? Or what is that? What does that equal to per percentage? Let's see, so 13 million divided by 75. So 25% would be 4.3 million. And if we look here for the entire count, we're at 71 and 75. So another 4.3, 4.5 million, let's say, on top of those totals.
So no matter what, I mean, we can't steal an election. There's nothing like that that's going on. Trump has unequivocally won the presidency. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, I don't think there's a question.
Yeah. So, I mean, no one can come in and say, hey, the presidency was stolen. He won fair and square. I mean, as much as people hate to admit it, I think that he played a fair game. I think that he didn't take as many shots as he did in his first and second campaigns, and now in his third campaign. I feel that this is the most tame I've ever seen him. And like I said, I wanted to take a look at some of the the key policy differences that are going to shape his presidency. And the first one is immigration and border security. So he's doubling down on his America First immigration policies, and he's promising to revive the controversial travel bans and expand border enforcement. And he suggested bringing back the wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, as well as possibly invoking the Insurrection Act to bolster enforcement with military support. He also intends to ramp up deportations, with estimates suggesting up to 20 million people could be targeted. And the other thing to note about this is that he has also gone on record saying that that birthright citizenship wouldn't be in effect anymore for people. So if you are the child of illegal aliens, just because you're born here, does not mean you're a naturalized citizen to the United States. And I think that that's only fair. You know, that's, I think that that only makes sense. Now, abortion. This was a hot button issue, and this was a big thing I saw people talking about on Facebook. So Trump previously indicated he wouldn't push federal restrictions on abortion, but the concern is growing over his support for the right-wing Project 25, which could include using existing laws like the Comstock Act to restrict access to abortion pills and potentially enforce a nationwide ban. We've talked about this on this podcast. Abortion is not birth control. It's not. If you lay down, you spread your legs. If you lay down with a lady and you pump a few times, because a lot of you people are one pump chumps, and you have a kid, and you're going to have a kid from that, that's your fucking responsibility. You knew the risks when you laid down together, just like you know the risks when you throw a $5 in on a 20-leg parlay. You know something's going to happen, right? Everyone loses. Okay? So, yes, there has been talk that a nationwide ban on abortion, but I think a lot of stuff's been misconstrued. Medically necessary abortions, something like the case of incest or rape, that those instances, those still qualify as being eligible to abort a child, like an ectopic pregnancy. If it's a medically necessary procedure, that is not being taken away. But the narrative gets pushed by people. Liberals were pushing a narrative that that was going to happen. And hey, listen, I'm still identifying as a Democrat, but I identify as a right-leaning Democrat, right? So in my mind, I look at a lot of the things that these the very, very far left liberals say, and I take it with a grain of salt because they're pushing one agenda, right? Just like far right extremists push another agenda. You cannot go onto Facebook and listen to the dude who fucking failed 10th grade civics and take him as your source of information for what's going to go on in the country, because I promise you it's above his or her comprehension level. That's just the fact of the fucking matter, okay? I understand wanting to fight for your future daughter or your future son, or even for yourself as these uncertain times happen. But I don't think this is the fucking Handmaid's Tale, right? That show on Hulu. This isn't going to be a country where women are just completely marginalized and thrown to the wayside and just treated as second-class citizens. That is absolutely not the case. I have listened to his rhetoric ad nauseum for the past couple months, and I have never got that inclination from him. So I would love someone to come on here with me and tell me where, A, where they got that information, B, where they gleaned that he was going to do all this at, and C, how you think it actually would come to pass. Because make no mistake, the president has a lot of power, but he's not the person that makes everything happen. He has to get all this shit approved from all different levels of government. Anthony, can you back me up on that? Am I right? Am I wrong on that?
For some things, yeah. For other things, he's got executive power.
He has executive power on certain things, but in an issue like abortion, he wouldn't be able to be the ultimate deciding factor, correct?
Yeah, not for a ban. I think that would have to go through Congress.
Okay. So we clear that up.
And then even then, it would be challenged and likely put before the Supreme Court.
So just because he says he wants to do something doesn't mean that he's going to do it.
But here, just to play devil's advocate,
Yes.
a lot of people say that because he's already gotten 3 Supreme Court picks, and now there are concerns that 2 more may be up for retirement. A lot of people are worried that he will put even, he's got more picks on the Supreme
More
Court.
yes men.
So he'll have 5 picks on a 9-judge court.
So that basically makes it 5-4 favor what he wants to do.
Whatever he wants to do. So that's what people are concerned with.
And hey, I understand that. I understand. I wanted you to explain it because you're a little bit more dialed in than I am, and like how everything kind of like falls. You know what I mean? Like I'm still kind of learning all of this. But
You're the baby, Tom. We got you.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's go back. So he has a climate and energy policy, right? So Trump has been very vocal in his skepticism about the climate crisis. He has called it a hoax and has withdrawn the United States from the Paris Agreement in his first term. And in a second term, he will likely continue to his focus on expanding domestic oil production, which he claims will help make America affordable again, despite its environmental consequences. So Joe Biden, within fucking 3 hours of becoming president, shut down that pipeline, right? Trump could open that shit back up and expand our domestic oil production, which would, correct me if I'm wrong again, Anthony, make us less reliant on places like Russia for oil, correct?
Yes, if we're drilling. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Doesn't it sound good to you? I don't want to be dependent on Russia for fucking anything. He's got a foreign policy. And on the international stage, President Trump is emphasizing a more isolationist approach and has vowed to quickly negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine and to reduce the United States' involvement in the conflict. Additionally, he is also more likely than not to continue his tough stance on China, building on his trade war and efforts to curb Chinese economic influence. Again, that's great. Negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine. I don't want a country sending billions and billions of dollars to the fucking Ukraine when we've got problems over here that need addressed. Man, we are helping that Zelensky guy with all sorts of shit. And what the fuck is Zelensky going to do for us when this is all over? He's not going to do a fucking thing because they're so fucking war-torn and pillaged and reduced to nothing, they can't pay us back. But if there's one man that can get them to pay us back, it'd be Donald Trump in some way, shape, or form. And if we negotiate peace between Russia and the Ukraine, it reduces the likelihood of a third world war breaking out, which would be even tougher on this country economically. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? We don't live in a world anymore where things are rainbows and fucking butterflies all the time. It used to be America was predicated on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that was it. But now we're predicated on life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and economics, money. because of all the fucking money that we've printed and all the money we've sent everywhere and all the people that we've dispersed shit to. What happens with that? We, the American people, feel the pinch on that. And that's what sucks. And I had someone say to me, when did it become all about the money for you? Like, when I was voicing why I wanted to vote for Donald Trump, it's because of money. And I said to them, brother, it became all about the money for me when I finally had tangible things to lose. I have nice cars. I have a nice home. I have a son. I have a wife. I have dogs. I have a fucking mortgage. I have a payment on a pool. I have payments on my vehicles. I have property taxes. I have a fucking grocery bill that's $500 a month, which is fucking ridiculous. In no world should I have the bare minimum groceries to get by and still spend $500 a month on that shit. $500 a month on groceries 5 years ago was you were getting fucking New York strips, pounds of it, when you were going to the supermarket, and you were getting cases of beer and awesome wine, and you were able to stock your fridge, and there was no fucking room in there for leftovers because you were so fucking packed. I went to the fucking store the other day, and a 12-pack of Coca-Cola, and I don't even drink Coca-Cola, but it pissed me off. That shit was $8 for a 12-pack. What the fuck? How? You know what I mean? Like, how? How does this happen? And it's because we started throwing all this money to other places that we forgot about taking care of ourselves at home. And it should always be about number one. And America's number one. This dude wants to make America great again, man. And does he go about things in a way that doesn't have a lot of couth? Does he say things that are a little controversial? Does he say things that rub people the wrong way? Yes, he does. He absolutely does. But I would rather have a president that stands up for the American people and wants to put money back in our pockets and runs this country like a business and says some mean things than I would want to have a nice guy in office that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He or she is doing. Right? So yeah, it is a little bit all about the money for me, and it should be all about the money for you too. Because I've had money in the bank and I've had no money in the bank. And I will tell you, I choose money every fucking time than being dead fucking broke. And it sucks to say that, but the happiest I've ever been is when I was making money. The saddest I've ever been is when the money just wasn't flowing. So I'm hoping that we can get this fucking money flowing, man. So gun rights. This is a big thing. Kamala wanted to take our guns, and Trump remains a staunch advocate for gun rights. He is potentially rolling back recent gun safety laws and supports industry-friendly policies. His administration will more likely than not seek to dismantle initiatives like the Office of Gun Violence Prevention established under Biden, which would be a great thing. There were so many rules and regulations put out that it was mind-numbing, and now it gets back to basics. So his economic and tax policy has pledged to lower the tax rates, particularly for businesses and wealthy individuals, while raising tariffs on imports to address trade imbalances. Trump has also claimed he will combat inflation. He hasn't really detailed how this will be achieved, and I do have a concern about that I'm going to go over with you guys in a little bit. So these policy goals reflect Trump's commitment to reinforcing his America First agenda with a focus on national security, economic independence and curtailing the progressive policies in areas like climate change and abortion. But there's been some rumors, and that's Project 2025. And before I get into Project 25, I need you to like the video. I need you to comment on the video. I need you to share the stream. And I need you to subscribe to the channel so we can continue to give you fantastic content week after week. And we can continue analyzing what the fuck's going on in our world. So Project 2025. So Project 2025, a lot of people were pointing to. It's a comprehensive plan that has generated significant attention due to its ambitious proposals to reshape various facets of the United States government. And it's based on ideas aimed at aligning federal policies with a more conservative agenda should Donald Trump have returned to the presidency, and he did. So one major proposal within the Project 2025 is the elimination of the Department of Education, devolving much of its responsibility to the state governments. The plan also advocates for a substantial change to social programs, including making cuts to Medicare Advantage, and aims to implement a more stringent immigration policy, which focuses on a stronger border enforcement. Now, I agree, we need to focus more on border enforcement, right? There shouldn't be this many people coming in to our country unchecked. If people want to come to our country, there are ways to do it. A lot of people say, well, what about when we came here on the Mayflower? We came in here illegally. Correct. I agree. But since then, a society developed. And with that society developing, there were rules and regulations that were developed to make it so that a country could not only grow, but prosper from that growth, right? So there were rules placed on it. And hey, this is what you need to do to become a citizen of the country. This is how you go about this the right way, because we live in a polite society, right? We need to adhere to these rules so we can ensure that everyone has access to the same things, the same rights, everything. But some people just want to come on up here, many of whom are violent, many of whom commit crimes, many of whom reap the benefits of our government, while people who are actual citizens and have done things the right way and may have been hit by a hard time do not get such benefits, right? And if we're speaking about benefits, one of the rumors about Project 2025 has been a potential cut to Social Security. And there's been no direct mention of cutting the program in the official documents, but however, this product does propose significant shifts in areas like healthcare, the climate policy, and the LGBTQIA plus rights. So, for instance, it does suggest rolling back climate change efforts, scaling back federal protections against discrimination, and restricting abortion access. These are things that are outlined in the Project 2025 docket. But Donald Trump has decried the notion of Project 2025, saying that he never did say these things. So my question is this another false attack by an opposing sect of the not the government, but of the country, who wants to take vague things that Trump said and construe them in such a way that makes it like, oh no, well, he did say this, but not directly, but we can infer that he meant this from this. And I think it's more of the latter in that case. I don't think that Donald Trump really has any plans to cut Social Security. I don't think that he really does want to do many of these things, these horrible things that this is outlining. A lot of these policies are still in flux and are open to interpretation. The project also kind of suggests a radical restructuring, I guess is the best phrase, of the government agencies and policies, favoring more political appointees in key positions and altering the functioning of agencies like the FBI and Department of Justice, which you can. Politico, actually, the website Politico does a great breakdown of this, and you can check that out. You could see exactly what the changes and the new policies with those departments would look like through Politico. That's a fantastic site to go to look that up. And the overall aim of Project 2025 seems to be consolidating power under the president and rolling back what are seen as liberal reforms, especially those that were implemented during the Biden administration. These proposals have sparked both support and criticism, with the detractors fearing the implications for civil rights and the broader social fabric of the United States. Politico, PolitiFact, Snopes, all these fact-checking websites can absolutely give you the scoop on this stuff, guys. I'm not a political expert. I don't claim to be. I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. And so my opinions are my own. They don't reflect, the people around me. I'm sure I say some things that my producer over here kind of says, what the fuck is he even talking about? So, I don't think that necessarily he agrees with some of the stuff I'm saying, but, it doesn't reflect the Cut's views. It's just reflective on mine. So we're going to go into another aspect of this, and there was mentions of a civil war if Trump didn't win. And we actually have a video of George Lang, who was actually a senator from the state of Ohio, talking about this. So, Anthony, if you'd be so kind, cue her up, Daddy.
Fight! 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 We got time. Come on. Hey, we are in the fight for the soul of our nation. We are in a fight for our kids and our grandkids, a fight that we can never imagine. I believe wholeheartedly Donald Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind. And if we come down to a civil war, I'm glad we got people like Schmitty and the Bikers for Trump on our side.
That's fucking intense. That's so fucking crazy. That's like absolutely insane. So this dude legitimately, so Anthony had actually told me that he was nervous about that if Trump didn't win the prospect that a civil war might break out, right? Was that ever on the table? I don't know. There was an idea of a civil war.
Can I just?
Yeah.
I would just, in general, no matter which way it went, I'm still not 100%. It's not going to happen.
Why?
I think it will happen less so than I did before, but I mean the meltdown was real after the fact. There's a lot of people who I've seen wish death upon Trump. So I don't know.
There's a lot. Hey, I'm glad that you've chimed in. A lot of people did wish death upon Donald Trump, but a lot of people also were wishing bad shit on Kamala, talked really bad about fucking Joe. I heard for years horrible racial slurs about Barack Obama when he was in office. I mean, yes, no one deserves to be talked to about that way. No one deserves to have shit like that said about them, right? But what I will say, Anthony, is there is one side that I've seen in the past 8 years that is more associated with guns, that is more associated with rallies, and is more associated with flying flags around and waving their shit all around, and those are Trump people. Now, you can't dispute that. You can't dispute that. Right? There are more people that drive around in their fucking 99 F-250 with the Donald Trump flag in the back and talk about owning guns and shit like that. I feel safer now that Trump won. I don't think that the liberals necessarily have the balls to do something like that. I really don't. Liberals talk a lot. Liberals cry, poor, poor me. Liberals start yelling louder when they're losing the argument to make it seem like they're going to win the argument. Conservatives, liberals are more liberal with talking about their feelings and crying. Conservatives are more take action type people. Would you agree?
Who's it take action?
Conservatives take action. Liberals cry.
No, I wouldn't say necessarily no.
Why not?
I mean, you've got a lot of examples of. I mean, look at the whole BLM riots. A lot of those were liberal. I would say liberal kids. Honestly, I think a lot of
liberal
them were,
kids.
But
yeah.
But I mean, that's a lot of action, in my opinion.
I agree. I will agree. I didn't consider that. But I do feel safer at the prospect of a civil war not happening now because Trump won. But the idea of a civil war in the U.S. is kind of unlikely in the literal sense. So that rhetoric surrounding it reflects on the concerns about the deepening political divide and the possibility of unrest if the 2024 election had been perceived as stolen or illegitimate like it was in the last election. So some of Trump's supporters, particularly from the extremist factions, have voiced their willingness to engage in violent actions in defense of what they perceive as a political system rigged against them. And they absolutely should want to take action if they feel that the political system is rigged against them, because there in no way, shape, or form should a political system be rigged against anyone. It's a fucking democracy. A democracy is designed to hear every side of the story and be fair and let the people voice their opinion and make their vote heard. And if it's rigged against someone, then it's not a fucking democracy, is it? It's not, right? So if you want to call it a democracy, start treating it like a fucking democracy and allow people's voices to be heard. And I feel that finally people's voices were heard because they were sick and tired of the bullshit from the past 4 years, losing fucking money, being still stupid fucking restrictions from COVID, still the vaccine rhetoric. You've still got all sorts of bullshit happening financially that Biden fucked up. He came in and said that he was going to cancel student loan debt. Well, he didn't fucking do that. He didn't do that. That's what he predicated his whole fucking thing on. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cancel. Oh, excuse me. I fell asleep. Student loan debt. That's Joe Biden. That was fucking Joe Biden, right? That was him. And he didn't fucking do what he said he was going to do. He didn't fucking do it. But guess what? Donald Trump might have not done everything that he said he was going to do, but he started it. And he tried to do it. But with all these people against him, he couldn't do it. But he did it as best as he fucking could. And I'd rather have someone that's in there fucking trying in the Oval Office than is falling asleep and drinking fucking warm milk because he can't fucking stay awake, right? That's the bullshit that I didn't want to see again. I didn't want Kamala keep opening up every press conference. Well, I was raised middle class. Bitch, I was too. And I know you weren't. You were pretty well off. You know how bad that this woman is the LeBron James of politics. Every goddamn thing LeBron says is a lie. Every fucking thing LeBron says is a lie. Right? I will never forget. It was like the 2016 finals. They're taking pictures of everyone in there. This motherfucker looks like he's reading a book. Zoom in on the book. It's upside down. The book is upside down. He wasn't reading that goddamn book. Kamala Harris says she's taking a phone call from someone. She goes like this, and the fucking camera's on. Who the fuck are you talking to on your camera, Kamala? You talking to yourself because that's the only person that'll fucking listen? Fucking disgusting. It pissed me off, Anthony. Like, she's the LeBron James of politics. A fucking liar. And I don't like it. I don't like people that do that shit like that. And so the threat of widespread civil conflict is more, if we're talking about a civil war, the widespread civil conflict is more likely going to manifest in isolated, localized incidents of violence or unrest rather than a full-scale civil war. So you're not going to see the fucking libs versus the conservatives, fucking North versus South style, that bullshit, right? It's going to be more in small areas. So experts on political violence argue that while the rhetoric could inspire an extreme action, it's going to be difficult to predict the exact outcome, as the U.S. political system has a strong checks and balances system in place to prevent that type of escalation. But that being said, these concerns are taken seriously by law enforcement, as they should be, and the national security experts, again, as they should be. And this is demonstrated by the increased presence of security forces around the 2024 election and the subsequent protests. So the potential for violence, though not a civil war, remains a real threat in the context of an already polarized nation. And we're talking about polarized. Let's continue to talk about shit being polarizing. So with Trump winning, we've seen some nasty shit said on Facebook and all forms of social media about the election, and I watched this unfold in real time and had some people directly come for me, which is fine. I'm a right-leaning Democrat. I get guff sometimes for my views. Anthony gives me guff all the time. He'll send me a meme every once in a while and say, "You fucking Democrat," and I laugh about it. He's never done that. That was a joke. I just wanted to tell stories. That's what we do on podcasts. We tell stories. I'm happy Trump won, guys. I had some reservations, though. So namely, two of them. How's he going to address the deficit? And how will he cut grocery prices? Like the people say he's going to. So Trump wants to deport illegals. But illegals make up who keep these prices where they're at now. With these people deported, it falls on domestic labor, which costs more to pay. So in turn, the grocery prices will go up. I don't think you're going to see grocery prices fall, especially if Trump makes good on his promise to deport a lot of these illegals, right? And that's fine. That's fine. I'd rather pay a little bit more to know that my country is safe, right? But here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand that if you deport the illegals, the illegal immigrants make up a lot of the agriculture and farming employees in this country because they're cheap labor, right? A lot of people say that they want Trump to bring all the automotive manufacturing to America, and that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I work in the auto industry, okay? If you want Donald Trump to bring all of that to America, you are the same people who tell me $400 is too much for a car payment, okay? But here's the thing. If you bring all of that over here, the labor goes up because South Korea, Mexico, all these places, it's cheaper labor, right? It's cheaper labor in a more global market, which makes these prices what they are right now. Yes, prices have gone up. That's attributed to tens of hundreds of issues that have gone on in the last 4 years. But if you make it so that all vehicles are manufactured in the United States, there's going to be two ways that you can keep these costs the same. Actually, only one. The manufacturer absorbs those costs, which they're not going to fucking do. They will not do that.
Tom, can I jump in here real quick? Because
please do.
Are you familiar with the flip side of the argument?
What flip side?
So if all those jobs come back to America, right? And if Trump puts tariffs on these other companies, that forces them to buy American vehicles, which most countries most foreign countries don't buy American vehicles, that will provide more jobs. And, of course, I would subsidize a lot of the costs.
Correct. That will do that, but that's not going to be the year that happens. That's years down the line. So for the first few years, you're going to have instances where the price goes up dramatically. The price will go up dramatically. Now, here's the other flip side to that question. The price goes up dramatically, right? And then after a while, all that cost gets subsidized and it gets cheaper to do because of all the jobs that are created, everything like that, right? Do you really think that a manufacturer is going to look at it and say, well, we can do this cheaper now, let's make it cheaper? Or do you think that they'd say, okay, well, it's selling at this price, so we're going to keep it at this price?
Depends on the competition in the market.
That's why rebates exist. In my opinion, that's why a rebate exists. But a lot of companies are going away from rebates. There are a couple auto manufacturers and auto banks that don't even offer like General Motors, right? General Motors, a brand I used to work for 6 years. They always had something, right? But now they're advertising like on the GMC line. You get, I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's like $5,700 in rebates in addition to deferred payments for 90 days, that kind of thing. They have to do that because their shit isn't selling. It's not selling, right? Year over year, the sales are going down, right? And that's not General Motors' fault. That's, in my opinion, that's dealerships' fault because for years they were advertising vehicles $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 over MSRP with no tangible reason to have that, right? A lot of times you see the vehicles for over MSRP, but it's because they've added the protection package, let's say, of splash guards and weather mats and nitrogen in the tires, wheel locks, door jam protection, that kind of thing, right? That's great. That's a tangible thing. But during the COVID years, it was way over sticker because they fucking could. That was the stupidest shit I ever saw in my life. And the trust, would you not agree? The trust went down. The trust from the consumer to the salesman went down, which was an already shaky relationship.
I think there was a period, yeah. Where salesmen were just slime balls.
Yes. And now people like myself are working to get rid of that notion. It's not worth me making a couple extra bucks if I'm going to get blasted on a survey and I'm going to get a bad review and my manager gets called on me. It's just not fucking worth it to me to make an extra couple bucks. Just not at all. I would rather not. So thank you for chiming in on that, Anthony. I definitely appreciate that. But like I said, I don't think that the price would go back down at that point because it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to because they know people are going to buy it, right? So after I voiced some of this stuff to a few people in my personal life, I felt like I was kind of getting attacked and it made me uncomfortable and it made me kind of think like, could I lose a friendship over politics? And I'm a Trump guy through and through, but I am not a J.D. Vance guy. And this is the only thing J.D. Vance has ever said that I agree with. So, Anthony, if you could play Mr. Vance's little speech that he gave, I'd appreciate it.
Wasn't prepared for this one.
It's in the show notes. So while Anthony pulls that up, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of keep going up. Keep it going. Right there. Under C. All right. So Mr. Vance, I think, puts it very eloquently here when talking about losing friendships over politics. I just don't think that shit's worth it. So here goes Mr. Vance.
Don't get too personal all the time, but, one of the things I've seen, especially from, some of my wife's friends and some of my friends, is if they disagree with us on politics sometimes, they'll get very personal about it. And if you're discarding a lifelong friendship because somebody votes for the other team, then you've made a terrible, terrible mistake and you should do something different. Like, don't cast aside. Like, most of my family obviously is going to vote for, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and if they're not, actually, I need to talk to them. But I've got friends who like me personally, acquaintances who aren't necessarily going to vote for me. That doesn't make them bad people. And we can't, this is my most important advice, whether you vote for me, whether you vote for Donald Trump, whether you vote for Kamala Harris, don't cast aside family members and lifelong friendships. Politics is not worth it. And I think if we follow that principle, we'll heal the divide in this country.
So I really, really liked that. I really liked what he said there. There are people that I have been friends with since 5th, 6th grade, people I've just met who I've considered good friends, because it's not the length of the friendship, but it's the quality of the friendship that really makes it a tangible friendship, right? And it feels these days like politics can make or break a friendship, and people find it harder to separate. I've found it that people find it harder to separate their political views from who they are. So when friends don't see eye to eye, it can get pretty tense. And for some, politics is just too tied to a personal value, and it becomes hard to ignore those differences. And others are more focused on the friendship itself, and they try to find common ground, seeing each other as more than just their beliefs, right? So when I was staunchly against Donald Trump, I would listen to my friends who would tell me why my viewpoint was wrong, right? You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. But I don't think that that's the right thing to say. You're not wrong. What you believe isn't wrong. Where you're coming from isn't a wrong place. It's your value system. It's who you are as a person. That's not wrong. No one's ever wrong for being who they are, because it takes all types to make this world go round, guys. I don't believe everything that Anthony believes, and Anthony doesn't believe everything that I believe. But that, at the end of the day, we will still call each other, we'll still hug each other, we'll still dap each other up, and we'll still be boys at the end of the day, because our friendship, his friendship is built more on just politics and everything that comes with that. We've known each other. We know each other's wives. We know each other's kids. We care about each other on a different level than that. But sometimes I feel that people, even if you have that type of friendship, they're so intrinsically linked to these politicians. Guys, these politicians don't give a fuck about you individually. They don't know your name. They don't know Tom Roth from Ashtabula, who works at an automotive dealership in Ashtabula County and golfs on the weekends and has a podcast. They don't, right? So why do we put more weight on these people and our opinion of them than we do on our friends? That's not fair. So when I was getting attacked like that and being told I was wrong all the time, I wanted to see where they were coming from. And it took me saying, don't fucking talk to me that way. I'm not wrong. I'm just not aligned with you. So try to align me with you. I want to see where you're coming from. So convince me to come to your side. And it worked. It worked, because now I support people I never thought I'd support. And it's because I was open. You need to be open, and not just about politics, but about everything. Because as I said, it takes all type to make this world go round, guys. And if you're not open and if you're just closed off, then you're the fucking problem. You can't be closed off. Your opinion isn't always going to be right. My opinion's not always right. It's rarely right. But if I believe it, then it's okay. But you need to be able to listen to other people. And it is tricky. finding that balance between respecting each other's opinion and staying true to what you believe. And sometimes people let politics get in the way of friendships because for a lot of us, political beliefs tie right into our personal values. If someone cares deeply about issues like human rights or the environment, they might see their views as part of who they are, their political views as part of who they are. So when a friend disagrees, it can feel personal, even if it's just a difference of opinion. And politics creates a sense of belonging, right? When people find a group that shares their views, it starts to feel like a tribe. And loyalty to that tribe might make them distance themselves from friends who think differently. That happens. But you need to be able to make these people feel included, man, because we need to be open to seeing all sides. And that's the one thing I was nervous about with Anthony talking earlier about how Trump now might have 5 of the 9. I like Trump and what he stands for in 9 out of 10 cases, but I don't think that that's fair. You need to have equal representation because we need to make it so that this country is representing everybody and not just the people who we think need to be represented. Everyone deserves to be represented and everyone deserves to be heard, right? And social media makes it so everyone gets heard because I hear some dumb shit. But it only makes this worse by amplifying extreme views and pushing people to one side or the other. Most people aren't trying to be divisive on purpose. They're just defending what matters to them. And with these divisions, it's hard these days for a Democrat and a Republican to find common ground. So how do we do that? And one approach is going to be having a conversation that isn't about winning or convincing each other, but is about listening and understanding why the other person feels the way they do. And often understanding the why behind someone's beliefs can bring something that I feel has been gone for years, and that's empathy. Even if you still disagree on the what of it, you can still find empathy and see where they're coming from. And it can also help to focus on practical issues where they might agree, where both of you might agree, like improving schools, supporting the local businesses, or protecting natural spaces in your community. By teaming up on these shared goals, we can see each other as partners instead of opponents. This world is so fucking divided, man. We need to stop seeing each other as opponents. I'm not Mike Tyson and you're not fucking Jake Paul, right? We need to just see each other as people that are together trying to make this world a better place, this country a better place. We have to realize that we're all in this together. Black, white, green, Hispanic, Asian, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, it doesn't matter. If we just truly want what's best for this country, it starts with acceptance of each other. Right? That's what it is. And I think that J.D. Vance, when he was talking in that video, said, there are people that I know that might not vote for me, and that's okay. I might want to have a talk with them, but that's okay, right? If the vice presidential nominee and incumbent vice president is saying this, then we all need to hitch our wagon to that tow package, man. I don't know if that dude could ever be president. I feel like he aired too much of his dirty laundry with his family and all the things. Like, J.D. Vance has been 10 people in this lifetime. He's constantly reinventing himself. You know, just a couple years ago, he was so anti-Trump that you never would have thought that he'd be the vice president for this guy. But he is. And that shows J.D. Vance's ability to adapt. I don't think that means that would make a good president, but I do think what that means is that J.D. Vance understands the importance of listening and seeing where people are coming from and then making an informed opinion. He is open to the possibility that his mind could be changed if you convince him, right? I don't want to sit there and get a message like, oh, there's Tom the liberal, because that's not who I am. I'm just Tom, man. I'm not a liberal. I'm not white. I'm not a car salesman. I'm not any of that. I'm just Tom, right? And that's what we all need to remember. We're not anything but who we are. And that's our name, man. Like, I'm just Tom. And I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to party. I'm here to be a good dad. And I'm here to make money. And that's really it. And I think that we get so caught up in worrying about what these people in power think of us that we don't realize that they don't even know our fucking names, man. And they're never going to know our names unless we become billionaires or we get popular enough to run for office one day. I do think that with him listening and with changing his mind and some of the things that he said that he wants to focus in on in his vice presidency, that he could be a viable candidate for the United States presidency in 4 years, because Donald Trump can't get another term after this one, correct? Because he didn't serve 2 consecutive terms.
No, he couldn't get another term even if he did serve. Two is the limit.
The limit. Okay. I've always just been confused on that. So I want to finish this episode tonight with thanking you guys for tuning in and listening to me and hearing what I have to say about Trump's presidency, the upcoming presidency. I do think it's going to be a very prosperous 4 years. I do think that we have some hurdles to overcome after Trump is inheriting Biden's economy, and it's not a good one. So we need to temper expectations for a little bit until we can see what he's actually going to do. In no way do I think that we are in a worse situation than we were this time last year. If anything, I think that we're trending in a positive direction, and I think that if we can all have a little bit of empathy and we can all see where other people are coming from instead of closing ourselves off from other people if they don't share that opinion, I think that we could be in a great place. But I think it starts with us. It starts with the people whose names that they don't know, because they might not never know our names, but they will know if we band together and we start to accept each other a little bit more despite our differences and start to unite and make this his whole slogan is Make America Great Again. America being great again is, in my opinion, not all the money, not all the policies that'll be enacted, but America will be truly great again if we can just come together and act as one again rather than divided. Because this isn't 1955, this is 2024, and we're in the best country in the fucking world. So let's make it great again. Thank you guys for viewing me tonight. You've all made the cut. Go ahead and like and comment on this video. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel so we can keep getting you great content every week. I really appreciate you guys. Have a beautiful evening. And go Trump.